tonight, producing more power. That has some communities asking hydro for more money. Caribou protection. The province finalizes its recovery plan. And toxic drugs. An alert is issued after one person dies in Dawson Creek. Good evening and thank you very much for joining us. And we begin tonight with reports suggesting that the Site C dam is producing more power than originally expected. The dam was expected to produce 1,100 megawatts of electricity, but now that it's producing more, some local communities are asking for more money. In 2013, BC Hydro agreed to pay $2.4 million a year to the Peace River Regional District for the next 70 years once Site C was operational. The PRRD is suggesting to the BC Environmental Assessment Office to increase that payment. The regional district then divides money between local communities depending on the impact the project has and the size of the population. The first payment was delivered by Hydro in April. The BC utility says no more water is passing through the generators. Hydro adding the turbines are more efficient than first thought. Now, Hydro says the legacy benefit agreement never considered how much power was going to be generated. CJDC-TV News contacted the District of Hudson's Hope, whose mayor previously commented on the story. District officials would not comment as it's a PRRD matter. Now, Chair Leonard Hebard was not available for an interview today, and the PRRD could not provide a statement in time for publishing. When at full capacity, the Site C dam produces enough energy to power about 550,000 homes per year across the province. The province is making a final decision on the boreal caribou protection and recovery plan. The plan is designed to help and protect as well as restore caribou habitat areas and help grow caribou populations. And it focuses on 4 herds in northeast BC and would limit industrial development in protected zones. The Ministry of Water, Land and Resource approved most of the project. Herds in selected areas like Fort Nelson will be protected under the plan, but not in areas near Fort St. John. The recovery project is expected to last more than 40 years. The BC Energy Regulator has already placed temporary regulations for 1.4 million hectares of habitat important for caribou protection, which will block energy and resources activity in the area. Northern Health issuing a toxic drug warning for the city of Dawson Creek. The health authority saying there's been an increase in overdose events, including 1 death in the community. The reported substance is brown, gold, or beige in color. The tablets are being sold as fentanyl. Now, this substance is highly toxic and causes heavy and prolonged sedations. Northern Health saying it requires more naloxone to reverse. Overdoses are happening when the substance is smoked and/or injected. And Northern Health also warning residents of Fort St. John about longer than usual wait times at the hospital today. The health authority looking to help reduce strain on emergency and acute care resources at the hospital. And they're asking patients with less urgent care needs to instead visit their family doctor during regular business hours. Now, at the same time, Northern Health also saying their online virtual health clinic is suffering from an information outage. The Northern Health virtual clinic was unable to access patients' appointment information today, and as a precaution, those who were affected by the online outage are being asked to go to the closest emergency room. The BC Centre for Disease Control has confirmed 18 new cases of measles across the province, with the majority once again coming from Northern Health region. Health officials confirming 16 new cases in northeast BC, saying 8 of those are currently active, and that brings the total to 159 for the year in the region. The BC CDC also confirming 2 new cases in the Fraser Health region. They say the new total of cases is now 215 across the province. Health officials say 88% of all cases come from people who haven't been vaccinated against the virus. The BC CDC continues to say that immunization is the best way to fight the highly contagious virus. Well, researchers at Simon Fraser University are using an $80 million state-of-the-art supercomputer to power AI software. It's all aimed at creating life-saving medication. As CTV's Kevin Chirac reports, the professor in charge calls it the most exciting research he's been a part of in decades.
You start with a certain molecule fragment, Professor Martin Esther says new research out of Simon Fraser University is using AI to help speed up the development of new and potentially life-saving medication.
I've done research in AI for 20 plus years, and this is the most significant application of our AI or machine learning research that we have accomplished so far.
His PhD student, 25-year-old Tony Shen, created the software program. He says finding the right drug molecules to combat disease is like sifting through millions of grains of sand to find a few golden nuggets. But his program, he says, can speed up and simplify the process.
And this is where generative AI could really come in, where generative AI could design directly the molecule that could inhibit protein and cure the disease, potentially.
The project is powered by SFU's most cutting-edge innovation, an $80 million supercomputer launched this summer.
So this is FIR. It's our brand new academic supercomputer. It is the largest supercomputer in Canada.
For Shen, the work takes on a very personal meaning.
I lost my grandparents to cancer, and I essentially heard from doctor that there is just no available treatment for their disease because it was too late stage.
He says his program has already drawn interest from drug companies, and they're now collaborating with the Vancouver Prostate Center to develop and test the medication.
Going to significantly speed up the process of drug discovery, and it may save lots of lives.
Kevin Chirac, CTV News, Burnaby.
And staying with health news, if you're trying to quit smoking, vaping is not the way to do it. That according to new guidelines issued by the Canadian Task Force for Preventative Health Care. In the recent report, the task force recommends that smokers use other nicotine replacements like an inhaler, a patch, or gum. Smoking rates have declined in recent years, but tobacco remains the leading cause of preventable disease and death in Canada. BC's wildfire season isn't over quite yet. An out-of-control blaze in the Fraser Canyon has triggered evacuation alerts and an air quality warning. And on Vancouver Island, crews are battling another new fire as officials there urge people to take extra precautions during this late summer heat wave. CTV's Ben Nesbitt reports.
Firefighters are working on steep terrain as they contain the Sailor Bar fire north of Yale. The blaze started Saturday and has reached about 120 hectares. Evacuation alerts are in effect for more than 80 properties, and CN rail tracks through the area have been closed. Crews say conditions along the tracks remain stable.
There was no growth that occurred overnight on the railway level, and no infrastructure is currently threatened.
The BC Wildfire Service says ground crews are being supported by helicopters. The fire is believed to be human-caused, and officials are urging people to be cautious during this late summer heat wave.
We do have this warming, drying condition, which is very unique for late August after a period of extended drought in the summer. So our fuels are very susceptible to ignition and spread.
On Vancouver Island, power has been restored for 500 customers impacted by the Mount Underwood fire near Port Alberni.
There's some challenges, certainly. It wasn't one of the easier jobs, that's for sure.
BC Hydro had originally aimed to restore service by August 30th, although crews volunteered to come back from holidays to pitch in, replacing more than 60 poles while running roughly 6 kilometers of line through the unstable fire zone.
We had to bring in veg crews to make it safe out there. Remove any trees, any threat of trees coming down on top of the lines we're going to add, on top of our crews when they're working there.
Around 70 wildfires are currently burning across BC. With high temperatures and no rain in sight, crews will stay on high alert, monitoring the flames and working to keep communities safe. Ben Nesbitt, CTV News.
Well, former TV personality Dr. Oz is once again adding his voice to calls for Canada to save nearly 400 ostriches destined for death in the interior of BC. The birds survived an avian flu outbreak at the Universal Ostrich Farm back in December. The farm in Edgewood, BC has been fighting a cull order from the federal government ever since, but lost its appeal last week. Oz, who now works as the chief of Medicare and Medicaid, believes the birds are now immune to the avian flu. He says they should be studied in the name of science.
We have an incredible opportunity to advance science. These birds are able to withstand this potentially devastating H5N1 avian flu virus. And why would we throw away this unique wisdom?
Oz says U.S. officials are ready to lead the research. The farm is also being backed by American billionaire John Katzimatidis and U.S. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So far, that has not swayed the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which maintains the birds could still carry and spread the virus. WestJet has been ordered to pay $5,000 to a BC family who were denied boarding while their plane was still at the gate. It happened in 2024 after a couple and their 3 children were scheduled to travel from Phoenix to Kelowna with a connection in Calgary. The first leg of their flight was delayed by 3 hours, arriving in Calgary about 40 minutes before their connecting flight was set to leave. Unknown to them, the airline had rebooked that flight for the next morning. WestJet did not dispute the family was denied boarding, but instead tried to argue their weather-related delay for the first flight was out of the airline's controls. Well, a BC tribunal disagreed with the airline, giving the family arrived in Calgary in time to make that connection, and said it was within the airline's control. Air Canada flight attendants will start voting on their tentative agreement this week.
Food bank wages and, make people to a living wages. So there's a lot of, angst that's being expressed by the flight attendants.
Now, the deal is said to include incremental pay hikes over 4 years and limited pay for work done while the plane is still on the ground. Several flight attendants have told CTV News they plan to vote against the agreement, saying the wage increases are not enough. Voting is expected to start Wednesday. Customers affected by the strike could be in for a long wait for compensation. The Canadian Transportation Agency is saying tonight its air travel complaint backlog was around 85,000 cases on August the 14th. That was 2 days before the strike even started. The Prime Minister continues to shore up alliances amid Canada's trade war with the United States. Mark Carney spending much of today in Poland, where he announced a new strategic partnership. Abigail Beeman reports.
The Maple Leafs on your shoulders, they feel hope.
Prime Minister Mark Carney stressed to Canadian troops in Warsaw and European leaders, Canada is ready to spend big on defense.
We will quadruple our spending on defense between now and the end of the decade.
Not only promising to meet NATO's 2% of GDP spending target by this year, but the new target of 5% by 2030.
We have your backs. We're serious about this.
Carney bringing his defense minister along to many European meetings, including the trip to Ukraine, which marks a shift from the past.
I think what it indicates is that the landscape has changed. I think Canadians know that the landscape has changed, that the geopolitics are changing, that the threat landscape has changed.
David McGuinty says Canada's defense plan needs diversification.
We're not only making a diplomatic visit, but we're really interested in diversifying our alliances and our defense investments, and having Minister McGuinty there puts an exclamation point behind that.
Diversification. We've heard that word a lot from the Prime Minister about trade, too, given the trade war with the United States.
Poland needs reliable partners that are ready to cooperate closely in the nuclear energy sector, and also as regards RES, renewable energy sources.
Poland has the fastest growing economy in the EU, and the two leaders recommitted to an agreement signed last year, but now focusing on trade, energy, and defense.
Our trade relationship last year grew by something like 22% in a single year. So the appetite is really there. It does also mean that people are kind of knocking on our door more.
And from Warsaw, the Prime Minister ends his day here in Berlin with a full day Tuesday focused on those same themes, deepening trade and defense ties. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Berlin.
In the Middle East, Palestinian health officials are saying Israeli strikes on a hospital in southern Gaza killed 20 people today. Medical officials say Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis was struck twice minutes apart. 5 journalists were also among those killed. It was the latest Israeli attack on hospitals throughout the war. There is commendation of today's strikes, including from the United Nations. As far as Israel goes, the Israeli Prime Minister's office says the strike was a tragic mishap and that the military is investigating. All right, as Kevin mentioned in his BC wildfire story earlier on in the cast, much of BC remains under a heat wave, including us here in Peace Region. Stay tuned. Noah will be right back with the weather.